The Way Back is directed by Gavin O'Connor, director of films like Warrior and The Accountant, and this is his second collaboration with Ben Affleck, who plays in this film an alcoholic construction worker who is recruited to become the head coach of the basketball team at the high school that he used to attend. This was yet another film that was heavily affected by the COVID-19 and was barely even in theaters a week, from my understanding, when the theaters began shutting down. But of course, you can rent it on any VOD service, which I could have done, but I probably wasn't going to, because this is just me personally. I don't usually spend like $30+ for a sports-related film, whether it's renting or outright buying it, because I'm not necessarily a sports film person, you know, even though I try to give every film its due. Now, if it had shown up at the theater close to me before everything started shutting down, I definitely would have checked it out, because it at least looked like it was a well-made sports drama. And to my surprise, as I was walking back to my dorm room around lunchtime today, I noticed that the theater that I've been going to, which had been posted as closed until further notice for about the past week or so, they were posting showtimes for the next 2 weeks, including this film, which was for today, which made me excited because that would mean there's another new movie that I haven't been able to see, and I get to see it in a theater, you know, with all of this happening, so I got really excited. Now, granted, the other upcoming movies that are coming to the theater over the next 2 weeks are all slightly older movies, if being made like in the past 5 years or so are old. Or, well, okay, no, there are a couple that are like almost a decade old, Jesus. Because, what is it, a few of them that were listed were like the Star Wars sequel trilogy, all 3 films, and the first Avengers film, and also some of the, or actually no, all 3 Iron Man films. But I did notice that The Hunt was listed for a week or 2 from now, so that's 2 movies, The Way Back and The Hunt, that I get to go to. That's, you know, new content for me, so hell yeah. In my head, I sounded more excited about that, but you know what? I'm not gonna fix it. I'm just gonna leave it in, because now, there you go. You guys see the real me. I am this awkward. I am awkward as fuck. Now, as far as my own anticipation for the film, as I alluded to earlier, the marketing campaign made it come across as though it's a fairly well-made sports drama. But I think what made this film appeal to so many people was honestly the timing of it. I'm not referring to the fact that COVID-19 is going on right now. I'm not talking about that. Ben Affleck is playing an alcoholic when not too long ago he was in the news everywhere for having gone to rehab for alcoholism. That definitely turned some heads when it was announced, and I personally think it could lead to a very interesting performance, especially because he's drawing from personal experience, very recent personal experience, as a matter of fact. Now, that's all my normal stuff out of the way. Now, before I actually head out to the theater to see the movie, I first want to remind you guys to hit that like button, and also hit that subscribe button, especially that button, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel before. And, you know, the short disclaimer, for those of you who are new, I use a pro and con setup with my reviews, but I don't usually keep the sections separate, but sometimes I do. I don't know. We'll see once the actual overall product emerges as we go through it. Anyway, I will see you guys shortly. As with many sports-related films, there are certain cliches that you'd expect. Like who all of these players are and what cliches that they can fall under if they're not properly fleshed out. The team that this guy has to coach is filled with those cliches. I mean, there are some who fall into the background, like other... Actually, that's kind of a cliche into itself. I didn't think about that. But anyway, so, aside from the ones who fall into the background, we recognize the cliches that are more upfront, even if we never truly remember their names after we leave the theater, or even before the credits roll. I know I sure forgot pretty much all of their names, if not all of their names before the credits started rolling. Let me think. You got the hothead, you got the womanizer, the kid whose parents don't approve of them focusing on the game instead of their studies. We know them all, and they're all in here. These players fit into those cliches and are never allowed more depth than what their cliche calls for. And for other cliches, you've got the standard sports films cliches like the training montage, the last-second victory, the lovable underdogs, the opposing team that's larger, better dressed, better equipped, and just better overall, and yet they end up being defeated by the team we're supposed to be rooting for. I mean, they are cliches, and I tend to give filmmakers shit when they actually resort to cliches, as I'm doing right now, but I also can't deny that in the moment with some cliches, especially in sports films, I can't deny that in the moment, as long as I'm connected in some way to whatever's going on in the film, these cliche moments can win me over a little bit. But back to the character cliches, I can forgive this a bit because they are not the focus of the film. This film is purely a vehicle for Ben Affleck's character and the performance he gives. Now, Ben Affleck rarely gives a bad performance. I say rarely because I still remember from time to time, well, this.
It's turkey time.
Huh?
Gobble, gobble.
What?
But aside from isolated incidents like that, Ben Affleck has always turned in some really good performances. And this may be his best yet. It's honestly no wonder that I could be considering this based off of what I brought up earlier. He's playing an alcoholic, and he used this performance as a sort of therapy for his own troubles with alcoholism. If you need someone to play an alcoholic, go find a recovering alcoholic. If you need someone to draw blood for the American Red Cross, go find a former drug addict. They will find a vein faster than anyone else that volunteers or works there. Anyways, random aside and joking aside, Affleck is simply electric in this role. He's given a lot of meat with this role. And on to my next point, which is actually tied to this. The reason why the role is so meaty is because a very good portion of the film is made up of a surprisingly good narrative focus on the coach's alcoholism, as well as the general focus on his daily emotional turmoil. Slowly, whenever he's not focusing on coaching or whenever he's out at his favorite bar, whenever those moments aren't happening, we're given insight into his life before we meet him at the start of the film, and we see what led to him, drinking constantly. And at first it would seem predictable, but not in a bad way. More like okay, I can understand why that sort of thing would make some people go down that path. Hopefully it would never happen to me, but you never know. But I would like to think that I could be strong and overcome such adversity. I'm not saying I thought that personally, but I know some people personally who would look at it in that kind of light. But back to the topic at hand. But then, still slowly, the layers are peeled back, showing that his alcoholism stemmed from even deeper issues that I didn't personally see coming. And then you're surprised to the point where instead of saying all that stuff that you said earlier in your head, you just sit there thinking, okay, I probably would not be as strong in that particular situation, and also with the other situations wrapped up as like, what is it? Like, damn it. Like those Lindt chocolate balls that you get during Christmas. Not the normal ones where it's got like the chocolate inside, but instead like that nougaty center. It's kind of like a Kinder chocolate where the chocolate's on the outside and then there's that nougaty center. Just the nougat is the actual turmoil, or sorry, no, it's the actual like real catalyst, and then the chocolate is the other stuff. I don't know why I'm going into all this detail describing a film's plot or character's mindset as though it's a ball of chocolate. And while this is a sports film by name, this film is more of a character study into an alcoholic, and the gravitas of the sports film stuff comes after those moments in importance. Now that doesn't mean that the game sequences and scenes aren't good. Quite the contrary, they're helmed very well from a technical standpoint, but the title of my point states it blatantly. The rest of the film is so good that what you'd go for in a sports drama kind of pales in comparison. And to keep going with the narrative focus that I was on earlier, the ending of the film, or at least the latter third, it just breaks off from your normal third act cliches and instead decides to tread its own path. They put a normal cliche that we all expect from the big redemption game that you see in a lot of these movies at the end of the second act. And they set it up as though the film's over, and it legitimately feels like it's gonna finish and immediately go to credits, but then it starts back up again. It keeps going, and this is where we get, like I said, the third act that treads its own path. We are given some slightly more melancholy and cathartic scenes, and just the ending itself is more melancholy and cathartic, to the point that feels more fulfilling in the long run than if the cliche third act had played out the way that you would normally expect. The Way Back delivers an above-average sports drama thanks to more of a focus on the main character's personal life and his struggles, and also by Affleck's performance. The sports drama aspects may be more average and predictable, but it really lends to what many people who love sports-based films consider comfort food. Only with this comfort food, you get to eat your dessert in small bits during the main meal, making it more of a well-rounded experience. I definitely recommend this film. I found it enjoyable like I figured I would before I saw it. And hey, if you're up for paying $20+ for a video on demand rental so that you can watch a sports film, hey, more power to you. Honestly, I wanted to rewatch Leigh Whannell's Invisible Man, and I can't even urge myself to pay $20 just to rent it, and I fucking love that movie. But, okay, I'm gonna stop right there before I start rambling. Now is not the time for rambles. Now is the time to end this review. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Once again, don't forget to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And as always, farewell until the next video, all of you casual moviegoers and movie fans alike, and keep on being awesome.